Hi everyone, I'm Anne Riddell and welcome to Arts in the City. First up today, our Andrew Falzone visited a special exhibit at the American Museum of Natural History, featuring up-and-coming Indigenous artists who draw inspiration from their cultural traditions.
As a young artist growing up in a family of artists, Shoshanna Greene says her art helps her better appreciate her history as a member of the Haida, one of the 20 or so tribes that hail from the Pacific Northwest coast.
Even though I grew up in the culture and I grew up surrounded by the art and grew up with family who are artists, I realized how much I didn't understand.
She contributed 2 pieces to the ongoing special exhibit at the American Museum of Natural History. The first piece, Shines Like Gold, relates a story of Raven, a central figure in Haida mythology. It offers a 2-dimensional representation of traditional argillite plates. Argillite is a stone carved by the Haida since the 1820s. First used to make ornate pipes, it was eventually carved into decorative art like freestanding sculptures and tableware, but the plates and platters are purely for decoration since argillite itself is prone to scratching and is quite brittle. Her second contribution, Nang Kislas and the First Zaidas, or in English, Raven and the First Haidas, is a black and white illustration that represents the origin story of the Haida, who live in Haida-Gwaii, an archipelago just off the coast of British Columbia, Canada. It fuses her love of contemporary Disney-style animation and Indigenous design.
So when I started to delve really into understanding how to create formline, I feel like I'm at a level now where I'm able to go beyond just the basics and that I'm able to start expressing more in different styles.
Formline design is the backbone of Indigenous art of the Northwest coast. It's comprised of 3 distinguishing shapes. First, ovoids, which are round and can form heads or bodies. The U-shapes, which can be adapted to serve as fingers, claws, or paws, and the S-shape, which can represent arms, legs, or fins. Formline is on display throughout the entire Northwest Coast Hall.
But because I have such a love for animation and other art styles, I want to try and figure out a path that's both of those together.
The exhibit is part of the museum's famed Northwest Coast Hall. It's the museum's oldest gallery and became permanent back in 1899. In consultation with 9 co-curators, each representing a Northwest Coast Indigenous tribe, the hall was remodeled in 2022. That same year was a big one for designer Rebecca Baker-Greniere.
I released my first fashion collection here in New York in 2022 at New York Fashion Week. And I came and visited the museum for the first time, and it was very mixed emotions being here. I think there is a lot of anger and sadness when I see our family's belongings that were illegally stolen from us during the potlatch ban.
Potlatch is a ceremonial gathering practiced by the Indigenous peoples of the Pacific Northwest. It serves a variety of purposes, from affirming cultural traditions to legal negotiations and honoring supernatural beliefs and connections. From 1885 to 1951, the Canadian government banned potlatches, an act of cultural suppression.
What is so special about this exhibit is that it really focuses on the contemporary work. And artists who are alive today.
Rebecca's piece is a fusion of contemporary design with traditional Northwest regalia.
Regalia is essentially what we wear when we dance in ceremonies, and it represents our lineages and our stories.
Bringing the exhibit together was the work of guest curator Aliya Boubard. She's the curator of the Bill Reid Gallery of Northwest Coast Art in downtown Vancouver, Canada's only public gallery dedicated to Indigenous art of the region.
A lot of people think that Indigenous people aren't around anymore, that we're part of the past, but we're very much here, very much present, and we continue to have these beautiful living cultures.
And while the exhibit will connect natural history's visitors with contemporary Indigenous art, it's also provided some artists with a point of internal reflection.
I think learning a few words a day, practicing your art, visiting ancestral belongings, that is all part of what is so important to us, to learn our culture and to reclaim that.
I'm Andrew Falzone for Arts in the City.
50 years of Saturday nights. The iconic television show Saturday Night Live is marking a big anniversary this year. Neil Rosen sat down with the director and the star of the new movie Saturday Night, a dramatization that takes viewers behind the scenes just before SNL's history-making premiere.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
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 It's that classic line for the last 50 seasons that starts every episode of Saturday Night Live.
Well, isn't that special?
This iconic show that revolutionized TV launched the careers of countless stars like Adam Sandler, Eddie Murphy, Bill Murray, Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, and Amy Poehler, just to name a few. It also introduced the nation to such talents from the original cast as John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, Gilda Radner, and Jane Curtin. Now there's a new movie called Saturday Night that looks at the chaotic, out-of-control goings-on that took place 90 minutes before airtime on the very first live show way back in October of 1975.
I just heard that your writers were stoned, your actors were physically assaulting each other. The sound system was down.
What the hell is happening?
And a fire broke out earlier.
I sat down with the film's writer-director, Jason Reitman, and its star, Gabriel LaBelle, who plays SNL's creator and executive producer, Lorne Michaels, who tries to hold things together while everything around him is spinning out of control.
We just have to make it to air.
It is my understanding that you talk to everyone that's still alive, or pretty much everyone from that first episode and from that first year. Is that true? And I also heard that you got many different stories on what happened from many different people. How true is that?
My writing partner, Gil Kennan, and I tried to interview everyone we could find that was alive and in the building on October 11th, 1975. That included writers, actors, Lorne Michaels, NBC Pages, members of Billy Preston's band. And yeah, what we found were this collection of memories that did not line up.
Gabriel, did you talk to Lorne? Was he accessible? Even though there's a lot of cast members in this, you're really the center of the movies.
Jason advised us not to speak to our real-life people, our counterparts who we're portraying. He thought it was best that we just, I don't know, what did you think? He trusted us.
My feeling is this. Gil and I had already done the research to write the script. At that point, I feel like it's the actor's job to understand the character on the page, not the real person. Also, we're talking about something that happened 50 years ago. And if you go and you interview the person now, if I asked you, how should you be played when you were 23? You might not give me 100% the truth.
My name is Lorne Michaels. I'm the producer of Saturday Night.
The whole night?
Yeah, the whole night.
How did you go about portraying Lorne Michaels? What research did you do?
I wanted to focus on why is that night significant to Lorne in his life, and in order to do that, you have to understand the journey of his creative life leading up to that point, and then how he met everyone and how he became friends with everyone in that studio to invite them and bring them on, the most entertaining, funny, creative writers and actors, and how he's just known them for years in the improv scene and likes them personally. There's a great interview on the Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder that first week where he's introducing all of the original cast members.
And they're there. I remember that interview. I've seen that. The Belushi, they're all sitting.
Yeah, I watched that a lot, and we wanted to find a balance of myself as an actor and Lorne, so definitely there were mannerisms that I worked on. There were how he holds his brow, his mouth, certain inflections on words, his Toronto accent, and his posture. But ultimately, you know, I over-prepared, and then when we got to set, we were just, you know, let it go and just have fun, and whatever you do makes sense.
Everyone down to the 8th floor now!
I mean, the casting was just like what was that process like to find these people?
When I used to tell people I wanted to make a movie about the opening night of Saturday Night Live, the 90 minutes leading to the Chevy saying, live from New York at Saturday night, inevitably they would go, oh, that's a really good idea. That's impossible to cast. And they weren't wrong. It's the hardest piece of casting I've ever had to do. 80 speaking roles, 20 of which you're already familiar with. Not only the 7 main actors on SNL, but people like Jim Henson, Billy Crystal, Andy Kaufman. There's all kinds of people that we're familiar with who they are. And our rule was not to try to find impersonators. There's a lot of people out there who do impersonations of these people. I had no interest in that. I'm interested in the essence of who these people were on that night.
Okay, let's see if we can get through one of these skits.
Sketches. Davey, please.
Okay, you ready, Camel White? Oh!
There's so many different ways to approach this. The idea of doing the 90 minutes leading up to the live 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Was that always the idea, or did you go through different,
Never had a different idea. I think I was already dancing with the idea of how do I do a movie about 90 straight minutes. That's something that already excited me. And frankly, I know I need to make a movie when I know the ending. And so when it hit me, oh, the last line of the movie is live from New York, it's Saturday night, and you cut to credits. That's when I knew I needed to make this movie.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
With Jason Reitman and Gabriel LaBelle discussing their new movie, Saturday Night, I'm Neil Rosen for Arts in the City.
Next up, a bite of off-Broadway. Patrick Pacheco, host of CUNY TV's Theater, All the Moving Parts, spoke with the creators of the hit musical Teeth, adapted from a horror film for the stage.
Big, black, and queer as American Broadway. And the Tony goes to A Strange Loop.
Prior to the off-Broadway bow of Teeth, Michael R. Jackson won both a Tony Award and Pulitzer for his semi-autobiographical musical A Strange Loop. He followed up with two new shows, White Girl in Danger, a tale about a black teenager stepping into a fantastical town called All White, and now Teeth, in which another teen, Dawn, discovers a new superpower, a vagina with teeth that bites back against male violation. While many playwrights swear on Shakespeare, Jackson and his Teeth collaborator, Anna K. Jacobs, look to the bold, larger-than-life narratives found in daytime TV for their outrageous and daring new musical.
Did you learn a lot about soap operas and Lifetime movies working with Michael?
I mean, I know that Michael loves them a lot. It's funny, actually, because I didn't realize, but when I was growing up in Sydney, we had the same soaps in the same kind of afternoon time slots as you all had over here. We had like Bold and the Beautiful, Young and the Restless. So I definitely understand where that love comes from, but I am not as much of a soap aficionado as Michael R. Jackson.
Did that soap opera aesthetic that you love so much work its way into Teeth?
In ways that you might not expect or focus on. Like, I think like soap operas are essentially just melodramas. And so melodramas are often about when the sort of circumstance is like larger than the characters in some ways. And I think that there are moments in the show, because the show itself is sort of heightened, like I think about a moment like Playing with Fire, which is one of my favorite scenes in the show. It's between Dawn and her boyfriend Toby, when he sort of reveals that he's actually not a virgin and he feels unworthy of her.
Inviting you to share my desire.
That scene, it could be straight out of Days of Our Lives. I mean, it truly could, because it starts in a place that you just don't expect that it's gonna go, especially given that they're in a church. And I think that like those moments of like heightened emotion and feeling that the characters sort of being carried away by the sort of circumstance that they're in is a very soap, melodrama, Lifetime movie sort of thing. But we then imbue that with this horror element, because that then also happens when those same characters carry those feelings and the shame and all of that with them to the lake, and then they try to clean the shame away, and that leads to other things, and then that leads to other things, and then that leads to other things.
For Anna, the heightened style of the original film made Teeth a natural fit for collaboration.
Then on top of that, it was so larger than life, and that's really my starting place when I'm working on a musical, is if it feels like it's living in a heightened place.
And crafting the right tone in Teeth meant blending theatricality with genuine emotional pull.
It was really important to me that tonally we strike this balance between performativeness, but also something that the audience really wants to buy into and has a hard time not buying into.
Michael, you went totally into the soap opera in White Girl in Danger.
I mean, White Girl in Danger, I mean, contains multitudes, but like one of them for me was this sort of question of, because I had noticed that there was just lots and lots of conversations starting to percolate sort of in the 2015s is when I really noticed it. Real fever pitch of like, of Black and POC folks in the arts wanting to be a part of these white stories or structures or whatever, and why can't we be a part of that? And I understood some of that on like a basic level, but then I just started to think about, well, what does that actually mean? What would that look like if that was like formalized? That like you were seeing like Black characters move from like a marginalized, quote unquote, marginalized space into like the privileged white space and having to fully inhabit it with all of its rules and complications.
And the best way to do that was through...
And so like in a soap opera is like such a larger than life form where you get all these stories. It's like the form of soap operas is like endless stories without end. And so, okay, so let's put Black characters in like endless white tropes and character types and situations and see how you do. Like how is that, maybe it's really fun for you, or maybe it's terrifying, or maybe it's all of those things. Because I, as someone who is like a soap, like, you know, aficionado, I know all the things that can happen to characters in soap operas, and some of them is pretty terrible. Carly Manning got buried alive on Days of Our Lives.
Don't do this to me, I'm not dead! I'm not dead!
And Vivian kept her underground with enough air and water so that she could talk to her from above the ground for like weeks, torturing her. And so, okay, let's put a Black character, let's do that to them.
Thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful run.
Thank you.
Thank you. Amen, amen.
Speaking of teeth, what does dentistry have to do with sweet treats? More than cavities. We visited a Queens orthodontist in her kitchen, where baking becomes an art form, just in time for the holidays.
We have some little gingerbread men on my macarons, a few stars, holiday stars, a few gingerbread houses.
Science and art come together in more ways than one for Nishat Shahabuddin, an orthodontist by day and serious baker by night.
I always boil it down to art and science. So there's two major components in dentistry, the science, you know, there's biology, chemistry, there's physics. And then there's the art. You have somebody's smile that you're working with. You know, at the end of the day, if you don't create something that's really beautiful, your patient will never be happy. And with baking, those same two parallels come into play.
50 grams of granulated sugar.
Nishat proudly describes herself as both nerdy and artsy, whether she is straightening teeth or decorating cookies. And her baking is not just a casual hobby. She was a contestant on Magnolia Network's Silos Baking Competition, and her gingerbread house was featured at the Museum of the City of New York last year during Gingerbread NYC, the Great Borough Bake Off.
So I made a replica of 74th Street at Jackson Heights. So it's a very ethnic neighborhood, very Bangladeshi and Pakistani in nature, and I would always go there as a child to go clothes shopping with my parents. And actually, the funny part is in high school, I would go back with my friends because there were all these chicken and rice carts, and I actually included that in the replica as well. Those memories made me feel like it was very fitting for the competition, Iconic New York. Somehow it became the single biggest baking endeavor I have taken on to date. I mean, it took me over a month, over 100 hours, maybe it was 200 by the end, and I was working on it every single weekend, every single night, every single morning, you know, before I left for work.
But challenge seems to be part of the fun for Nishat, from intricately decorated cakes to the perfect amount of gooey in a chocolate chip cookie. Then there are the tiny details which require a steady hand, something she learned about in, you guessed it, dental school.
People love to joke that I love to create cavities for my own patients.
Nishat doesn't sell her treats. It's more a labor of love for family and friends. She does hope to get back to competitive baking at some point, but at the moment, she's focused on her latest creation.
Hi, I'm Mommy's Beauty Taste Testing.
You've probably noticed the holiday season is here. Donna Hanover has a roundup of some of the best and brightest ways to celebrate.
Holiday festivities are revving up, beckoning people to celebrate this special time of year. Some of the most exuberant displays are the ones where families decorate their own homes. And Diker Heights in Brooklyn has splendid creations every year. The Friday after Thanksgiving is the day they flip the switches on. People also look forward to store window displays like those along Fifth Avenue, and we wonder if they'll top last year's beauties at places like Saks and Bergdorf Goodman, which is famous for its exotic, high-fashion, sparkling look.
Ice skating is a zippy way to celebrate the season, and a great place to do it is here at Bryant Park. You can rent skates or bring your own, and the skating is free. Some people are better at it than others, but all skill levels are welcome.
Speaking of winter sports, there's even curling available here this season. And the Bank of America Winter Village at Bryant Park also has an open-air market where you can find gifts and decorations at more than 180 festive shops. During the holidays, the Bronx Zoo gets a whole new look in the evenings. Your imagination can travel the world with animal lanterns showing creatures from Africa, Asia, Latin America, North America, forests, and ocean life. It's popular, so tickets required. Not to be outdone, Brooklyn Botanic Garden has a breathtaking annual lightscape display. Stroll the mile-long path, which is paved, accessible, and well-marked to see the luminous creations and maybe have a hot drink or snack. Check out bbg.org for tickets. This year, a few nights have hours reserved for adults 21 and over. Lots of folks love the annual Rockefeller Center Christmas tree with 50,000 lights. It also has more than 3 million Swarovski crystals covering the 70 spikes of the star on top. The lights are on starting December 4th. One inside beauty you'll want to see is the awesome origami tree at the American Museum of Natural History. The ornaments are animal shapes brilliantly folded by artists from around the world. They're different each year, although they always include some based on popular exhibits in the museum, like the blue whale and T-Rex. For those celebrating Hanukkah, which this year runs from December 25th through January 2nd, huge menorahs go up in front of the Plaza Hotel in Manhattan and in Brooklyn's Grand Army Plaza. Holiday performances are enchanting. One favorite is George Balanchine's The Nutcracker by the New York City Ballet. Another is the Rockettes in the Christmas Spectacular at Radio City Music Hall. And many love the Queens College Choral Society. This year on December 15th, they'll sing masterworks by Haydn, Vaughan Williams, and Frank London. Lights galore dress up Hudson Yards, and by galore, I mean more than 2 million of them, some making a stunning hot air balloon over the atrium. They also have one of the newest musical light shows in the city called Shine Bright, and Santa's there to say hello as well. For those celebrating Kwanzaa, which goes from December 26th through January 1st each year, a big highlight is the 8th annual Kwanzaa Film Festival at the Schomburg Center in Harlem. The Mario Cuomo Bridge up in Westchester and Rockland counties will set its gorgeous lighting to celebrate Christmas and also salute Hanukkah and Kwanzaa. And for classic fun, the holiday train show at the New York Botanical Garden is a treat. The model trains clatter, chug, and whistle past scaled versions of the Brooklyn Bridge, St. Patrick's Cathedral, the Apollo Theater, and the Statue of Liberty, as well as almost 200 other iconic spots. Enjoy the tour and the holidays. I'm Donna Hanover for Arts in the City.
That is our show for today. Thanks so much for watching. A quick reminder to check us out on our new CUNY TV app and on social media. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Anne Riddell. See you next time on Arts in the City, and enjoy the holidays.